Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
The Philippine Air Force confirmed that an FA-50 fighter jet went missing during a tactical operation. And we will get an update straight from the Philippine Air Force shortly.
An update from Vatican. Pope Francis has had a restful night after experiencing 2 episodes of acute respiratory failure.
The COMELEC First Division has dismissed the disqualification petition against the Tulfo family, which was filed over allegations of a political dynasty.
Today, Ash Wednesday marks the start of the Lenten season. But the question is, willing pa bang mag-ayuno ang mga Katolikong Pilipino?
First in the news, newly appointed PCO Secretary Jay Ruiz has responded to the controversy surrounding him just days into his new role. Here's the report.
In a press briefing on Tuesday, Presidential Communications Office Secretary Jay Ruiz insisted that he was never a stockholder of Digital 8, the media company that reportedly secured multi-million peso contracts from the Philippine Charities Sweepstakes Office, or PCSO. He explained that he only served as a representative and head of sales and marketing before resigning in January.
On my 8th day, may ganito ng storyang lumalabas. Ano to, demolition job? Fake news ba to? Ano ang dahilan?
Ruiz also expressed concern that the controversy is affecting his family. Aside from his 78-year-old mother experiencing high blood pressure, he had to request security measures to ensure his family's safety. Ruiz also admitted to owning other businesses, including restaurants and a political management firm, which he said he is in the process of divesting from. His complaint is that no one sought his side, despite him personally knowing the owners of the news site that published the story.
Kilala ko naman. Si dating secretary, undersecretary Ray Marfil. Kilala ko, nakasama ko siya sa Senate. Kilala ko rin naman si Hil Cabacunan na nakasama ko rin sa House. Ang dami kong kakilala, common friends, na nandun. In fact, isa nga dyan si Benji Liwanag.
The question now is, will he file a case?
I was contemplating on siyempre yung una mo reaction, di ba? File a legal action against these purveyors of fake news. Pero nung naitulog ko, naisip ko, baka naman lalo lang tayong madistract. Madistract tayo sa focus na ano ang kinakailangan gawin bilang Presidential Communications Office.
The individuals mentioned by Ruiz have yet to provide a statement on the issue.
Now, with the extreme heat that some areas have started to experience, are we now approaching the dry season? To answer that, we have Lori De La Cruz from Pag-asa joining us now on the line. Good morning, Ms. Lori.
Good morning din, ma'am, at sa lahat na ating mga tagapakinig at mga kababayan.
Okay, let's start off with rains. Meron pa po bang mga lugar na uulanin, Ma'am Lori?
Yes po, possible pa rin ng ulan sa Davao del Sur, Davao Oriental, sa Sarangani, Basilan, Sulu at Tawi-Tawi due to easterly, so yung hangin na nanggagaling sa dagat Pasipiko. Samantala, sa Metro Manila at natitirang bahagi ng ating bansa, generally good weather, walang inaasahang malawakang pag-ulan liban sa mga localized thunderstorms. Yung heat index naman natin dito sa Kamanilaan pwede pong umabot hanggang sa 39 degrees Celsius para sa araw na ito. So, ibig sabihin nasa extreme caution level po siya. So, hindi po ina-advise yung mga intense na physical activities, yung mga pwede mag-cause ng heat exhaustion at mga heat cramps.
Yes, sorry, Lori, go ahead.
Yes po, actually yun lang po yung ating latest so far.
Lori, of course, lagi natin naririnig yung yung word easterlies, no? Ang dami nagtatanong para siguro konting refresher lang sa mga kababayan natin. Ano yung easterlies at paano ito nabubuo?
Well, yung easterlies, ito po yung hangin na nanggagaling sa dagat Pasipiko. Somehow, isa po ito sa mga phenomena, weather phenomena kung saan. Kaya po ito nangyayari dahil sa pag-ikot po ng mundo, yung pag-rotate po ng ating mundo sa axis. So, kumbaga, yung hangin na ito yung parang isa sa mga effect nun, yung easterlies. So, yun yung nakakarating po sa atin.
Okay, so yung easterlies ba ang umiiral ngayon o may konting amihan pang pumapalo?
Yes po, ngayon halos pure easterlies po or halos buong bansa easterlies ang nakakaapekto. Pero by tomorrow, may inasahan tayo. Starting tomorrow, may inaasahan po tayong another bugso ng amihan.
So what will prompt you to declare na talagang dry season na talaga officially? How many days ng easterlies dapat or yung mga heat index na matataas kailangan maranasan?
Sorry sir, sorry po.
Kailan yung mga official masasabi na talagang dry season na?
Kapag nakita po natin yung mga synoptic systems natin na talagang halos nagtapos na yung northeast monsoon. So I think ito na yung last na parang surge niya. After this, most likely transition na po tayo into tag-init.
Okay. Yun nga daw po yung pinaka-question dyan, Miss Lori. Ano daw po yung explanation? Kasi in the previous years, kapag amihan season, medyo malamig talaga. Pero itong taon na to, parang hindi daw masyado naramdaman yung lamig ng amihan. Tapos ngayon, magta-transition na tayo to dry season.
Kasi po kung maalala po natin, nagkaroon din po tayo ngayon ng La Nina phenomenon. So, yung epekto ng La Nina na ranasan po natin, ang isa sa mga characteristics ng La Nina ay yung tinatawag nating anomalous easterlies, malakas yung easterlies. So, ibig sabihin nun, kapag malakas yung easterlies at this time of this year, na even if kasagsagan siya ng amihan, hindi makapenetrate po yung amihan natin hanggang sa Visayas or Mindanao. Hindi po siya makababa dahil nga yung easterlies niya ay hinaharangan. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, ang naging dominant naman is yung shear line. Dahil nga malakas ang easterlies, malakas ang tapos nakakabangga nito yung northeast na hangin, nakakabuo siya ng convergence zone. Yung boundary ng...
Yes, Lori, of course, madaming tatanong para malaman namin, magpapaklining na ba kami ng aircon, bibili ba kami additional electric fans, na if this upcoming dry season is going to be hotter comparatively than yung naranasan natin last year. Because I remember last year, grabe ang mga heat index at yung mga temperature natin. So what do we expect itong coming dry season?
So far sa ating pagtaya, mukhang hindi naman po extreme cases ho. Pero hindi pa natin talagang matutukoy exactly yung mga figures, like yung exact na heat index. But so far naman po, sa nakikita natin, mukhang kung ano naman po yung mga normal figures. Yun po yung
what is normal, Lori, for yung na temperature na nararanasan dapat tuwing dry season?
Usually po sa Metro Manila, ang range niya from 35 hanggang 34 or 35.
Okay.
Speaking of heat index na lang din po, baka pwede kaming mabigyan ulit ng refresher kung ano po ba yung ibig sabihin ng heat index.
Ito po yung tawag natin sa Tagalog, yung term po natin dito is init factor. Ibig sabihin, hindi po yung actual na temperatura na na-measure natin sa mga thermometers.
Right.
Pero dahil pinagsama ang epekto nung mismong init ng panahon plus yung humidity in Tagalog in Tagalog yung tinatawag siguro yan na parang hamog, ganon, yung humidity niya. Kapag mataas ang humidity at mataas ang init ng panahon o temperatura ng environment, ang tendency po niyan, yung pawis natin, hindi nakakalabas agad ng ating katawan.
Yun yung yung nararamdaman ng katawan. Feels like, tama po.
Feels like.
So, ang pakaramdam natin mas mainit kasi hindi nagpe-perspire ng maayos. Kaya po parang mas mainit yung perception na sa kapaligiran. Unlike kapag mainit tapos mababa ang humidity, mababa yung water vapor content sa hangin.
Right.
Ang kagandahan nun ay nag-evaporate agad yung ating mga pawis.
Okay.
Alright, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Lori de la Cruz from Pag-asa.
Meanwhile, search and rescue operations are underway after one of the FA-50 fighter jets of the Philippine Air Force went missing during a tactical operation. According to PAF spokesperson Colonel Maria Consuelo Castillo, communication with the aircraft was lost minutes before reaching its target location. The military aircraft had 2 pilots. Efforts to re-establish contact have so far been unsuccessful. However, personal locator beacons from the missing pilots have been detected, aiding search and rescue teams. The Philippine Air Force has not disclosed details about the mission, but confirmed that the aircraft was supporting Philippine Army troops. Ngayon, so yan ang we're supposed to talk to Colonel to get updates nito because ang balita is nakapag-eject naman yung dalawang pilots. And so the beacons, kasi ang mga aircraft pag nag-eject ka, nag-automatic on yung beacon. Ang katanungan kasi ng marami is how are these 2 pilots, are they okay? Kasi parang they want to keep quiet muna because baka ma-compromise daw yung search and rescue operations.
All right, to get more details about this incident, we have Philippine Air Force spokesperson Colonel Maria Consuelo Castillo joining us today via Zoom. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Colonel.
Magandang umaga po, Ma'am Angela and Sir Angelo.
Angelo po.
Magandang umaga rin po sa inyong mga tagapakinig.
Opo, Colonel, syempre hingi na lang po kami ng update po sa inyo dito sa insidente na ito. Kamusta po yung search and rescue operations dito? And do we have any development pa po?
Yes, ma'am. The whole day yesterday, we conducted continuous search and rescue operations despite yung hindi favorable na weather dun sa area. Kasi medyo bulubundukin po now. We can disclose that the area of search operations is in Bukidnon. Yun nga po, dawn pa lang, break of dawn pa lang po yesterday kasi remember the tactical night operations transpired in the midnight, no? Actually, nagtawid from just before midnight of March 3 up to yung past midnight ng March 4. So, yun yung mga oras din po na nawalan ng contact yung lead aircraft dun sa ating isang FA-50. And then, nangyari po, we deployed air assets starting dun sa break pa lang ng dawn. Meron na po tayong dineploy ng mga helicopters to do search dun sa probable area, no? Kung saan estimado nilang posibleng dun nalaglag yung ating aircraft. And then, at the same time, yung priority ho talaga natin dito is ma-rescue natin yung mga piloto. There's a possibility that it is a hot area, kaya we did not disclose the yung area of operations. Pero as of yesterday kasi nakapag-insert na po tayo ng mga ground troops and they went on foot to go to the indicated possible areas as emitted by the locator beacons po. Ang po namin is itong mga nakukuha nating signals, locator beacons from hopefully po, yan po yung nanggagaling mismo sa mga piloto. Pero there's a possibility din po pala na yan yung nanggagaling din sa eroplano. Po. So right now po, we are just hopeful that this signals that we're getting or that we got and which is the basis of our search area right now will lead us to the pilots and we hope to find them alive and so that we can safely bring them back to their families.
Yes, I understand, Colonel, itong 2 pilots na ito, no, they were able to eject, is that correct?
Yun po ang assumption natin. Ang assumption natin. And hopefully nga po, matagpuan natin sila at ihatid po natin sila sa kanilang mga pamilya ng paayos.
Alright. Colonel, may mga reports po kasi ito pong pinag-uusapan po natin na nawawala na FA-50 ay bahagi nga daw po ng operasyon ng squadron na ipinadala para magbigay ng air support sa tropang lumalaban po sa communist rebels sa Mindanao. How true is this po?
I cannot confirm that, ma'am. These are operational matters that we can confirm from our end. Siguro po ang pinaka pwedeng magsalita dyan are our concerned unified commands who are in charge of operations. Remember, ma'am, the Philippine Air Force is just a force provider.
Right.
And we cannot disclose details about the ongoing operations. Pero definitely po, our aircraft are being utilized to support the ongoing operations of our ground troops against lawless elements.
But Colonel, can you enlighten us na lang po instead doon po sa mga operations na ginagawa po nyo ngayon sa search and rescue operations? Anong oras po yung nagsisimula and anong oras po yung natatapos?
Yes, ma'am. As far as our air operations are concerned, yesterday we deployed multiple rotary aircraft as well as fixed-wing aircraft to conduct aerial search. However, ma'am, the area of search is nasa bulubundukin at forested area, and medyo foggy po. Buong araw po halos may fog and may precipitation. So medyo nahihirapan po tayo to conduct aerial search. Pabuti na lang din po, nag-clear for a while and we were able to insert troops in a cleared area kung saan doon po nag-start yung ground threat naman ng ating mga Army Forces. Army Forces, that's right. And we would also like to acknowledge napakadami pong civilian volunteers na sumama. More than 100 na po personnel are involved in the search right now on the ground. And then today po, patuloy po ang ating deployment ng ating aircraft din po para ipagpatuloy ang kanilang area search as weather would permit, ma'am.
Baka you can enlighten us a little bit, Colonel. No? You mentioned kanina na you're hopeful na yung signal na nakikita nyo are from the pilots. Yung signal po ba na binabato ng aircraft mismo is separate from that of the pilots?
Yes po.
Okay.
Normally po, upon impact po kasi, yun po yung locator transmitter na ini-emit ng aircraft. Meron din po, we just, nagkaroon kami ng discussions, meron din po palang possible signals coming from the ejection seats.
Yeah.
At the same time, pwede rin po na ang signal is coming from the personal locator beacons na yun naman po is nasa hawak po yan ng mga piloto. So, hopefully what the signals, we cannot conclusive, hindi pa po conclusive, no? Pero hopefully the signals that we're getting are the ones coming from the pilots themselves.
Okay. Since commence po yung tactical mission po, ilang oras po sila nandoon sa area bago po ninyo nalaman that they are missing? And was there also a time na nakapag-inform sila na something's wrong?
Ma'am, base po sa narration ng ating mga piloto na nakabalik sa Mactan, they lost contact with the trailing aircraft a few minutes before they were to hit their target area. So, naka-take off po kasi sila sa Mactan around 11:30, past 11:30 evening of March 3, and they were supposed to reach their target by 12 midnight exactly. And shortly before that, they were trying to get in touch with the trailing aircraft, pero wala na pong sumagot. And then they just proceeded to their target to perform the mission. And when they went back to, proceeded back to Mactan, continuing to contact the aircraft, it took around 30 minutes to go back to Mactan. And wala pa rin pong reply from the other aircraft po.
So just to clarify, Colonel, as of now, we have no idea yet ano yung cause ng crash?
Yes, sir. Definitely, we're going to conduct a thorough investigation, but we have to find yun muna pong aircraft kung saan siya. Kasi talaga napakamasukal po daw ng area, yung suspected area. Pero priority po talaga natin ngayon, mahanap yung dalawang piloto muna.
Of course.
Alright. Thank you.
We are one with you in prayer. Sana
And
po
we're hopeful for good news.
Yes,
Alright.
Yes,
thank you very much.
Your prayers will really be a big help.
Yes.
Sana po, ini-enjoy din po natin ang ating mga kababayan na tumulong po sa pagdarasal para mahanap po natin ang ating mga piloto na safe and sound po.
Definitely, and please do keep us updated. Thank you for your time, Philippine Air Force spokesperson, Colonel Maria Consuelo Castillo.
Thank you, sir, on behalf of our Commanding General, Lieutenant General Arthur M. Cordura and the rest of the Philippine Air Force. Maraming salamat and good morning po sa inyo lahat.
Coming up, the COMELEC has dismissed the disqualification case against the Tulfos. Bakit kaya?
And we'll give updates on the health of Pope Francis, who's been hospitalized for over 2 weeks now. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The COMELEC provided a guided tour to a noontime show contestant who admitted her lack of knowledge about the pole body. Hart Aquino visited the COMELEC headquarters on Tuesday. This comes after Aquino was asked on live television to deliver a message to COMELEC, but admitted she had limited knowledge about the election body despite being of voting age. She thanked the pole body for opening its doors and apologized for her remarks. The COMELEC, in return, is now considering making her as an ambassador.
Nakikita namin na pwede siyang maging influence sa youth para sa mga ibang kabataan din who are not so knowledgeable about COMELEC. We would like to show that COMELEC is willing to reach out to the youth.
Kung titignan ko po siya, it's an opportunity din po. So yes po, willing naman po ako. And to inspire na the youth na rin po.
The Commission on Elections dismissed a petition to disqualify 5 Tulfo family members from the 2025 midterm elections. The COMELEC First Division ruled that petitioner attorney Virgilio Garcia failed to submit the required documents, including copies of the respondents' certificates of candidacy. The case sought to disqualify Erwin and Ben Tulfo, Rep. Jocelyn Pua Tulfo, Quezon City Rep. Ralph Tulfo, and former Tourism Secretary Wanda Tulfo Teo over allegations of political dynasty. COMELEC Chairman George Erwin Garcia clarified that the dismissal was on technical grounds. He also noted that the petitioner could still file a motion for reconsideration. Yung kay ambassador, yung magiging ambassador ng COMELEC.
First
of all, kung hindi niya nalaman ko ano yung COMELEC, inamin niya na alam niya naman, it's just wala siyang masyadong details na kaboto. Hindi
saka at the particular time that she was asked.
She was on camera, oo. Pero yung mga bashers naman, bakit mo kailangan i-bash isang tao na hindi nakakaalam, di ba?
Educate mo.
Educate mo. I don't understand yung culture na ibabash mo dahil nagkamali ang tao.
I-educate mo and see the, ang tawag dito, yung deeper problem, di ba? Kasi nakikita natin ngayon yung mga kabataan, parang na medyo disengage sila pagdating sa, yung iba I'm not generalizing, disengage sa usapin ng mga social issues.
Actually, the problem doesn't lie with her. I think the problem lies in general with a new generation that gets majority of their information online. And sometimes online, if your algorithm or if your feed hindi siya naka-optimize sa certain issues, nakalimit lang siya sa laging sinesearch mo. So kung mahilig ka sa food, puro food lang.
Kung mahilig ka sa mga kanta, sa mga sayaw, yun ay makikita mo.
Kung malikot lang isip mo talaga, maisip mo parang, ganda ng setup nito, parang ginawang ambassador. Pero gandang idea.
Sabi ko, di ba, tip of the iceberg lang to. Ibig sabihin talaga, dapat tignan natin yung pagpapalawak ng edukasyon, campaign awareness sa mga kabataan on social issues. But going to the issue naman sa disqualification ng mga Tulfo, pwede pa naman daw yan sabi ni COMELEC Chairman dun sa petitioner, pwede daw siya mag-file ng motion for reconsideration. But also, the Tulfo side naman are welcoming this development. But to further discuss this, we have Commission on Elections or COMELEC spokesperson, Attorney Rex Laudianco, joining us today on the line. Good morning, Attorney. Thanks again for joining us today.
Magandang umaga po, Ma'am Angela, Sir Angelo, at sa lahat po na taga-subaybay ng branch. Good morning po.
Hingi lang po kami ng update tungkol nga po dito sa pag-dismiss ng disqualification petition.
Tama nga po, naglabas na po ng desisyon ng COMELEC First Division na nagsasabi po na na-dismiss yung kanilang petisyon dahil nga po kulang sa mandatory attachments. Alam niyo naman po, ito formal na kaso at kahit saan man pong korte o tribunal, dapat pagka po nagsampa ka ng kaso, kumpleto po. At lalong-lalo na ito na kine-question po ang qualification. Number 1 po dapat nakatouch dito yung kanilang certificate of candidacy na hindi po naisama.
So,
pero I want to follow up on that kasi yung sa certificate of candidacy na nakulang po dun sa requirements kaya po hindi kaya po nabasura itong petition na to ay hindi po ba may kopya naman po ang COMELEC ng COC ng kandidato? Bakit po kailangan manggagaling doon sa petitioner yung kopya ng COC?
Dahil una po sa lahat, ang COC po ay pwede niyang kunin at nakalagay po sa requirements ng kaso na dapat i-attach na rito dahil ipupunto po niya at tuturo niya sa ang parte merong pagka-problema dito sa COC. Bilang korte po kasi hindi mangangalap ng ebidensya ang COMELEC para po ibigay doon sa nagpe-question at nagpe-petition. Hindi po ganyan ang ating mga korte at mga tribunal. Talagang kasi po ang kapangyarihan ito para po quasi judicial power ng COMELEC at hindi po siya sasali. Kailangan po siya nasa gitna at mamamagitan lamang.
So, bali po, ang desisyon na ito na ibasura ay base po sa technicalities, hindi po sa merito ng kaso. Tama po ba?
Tama po, dahil nga po hindi na-acquire po practically yung jurisdiction ng buo doon sa petition dahil kulang nga po. Ang sinasabi naman po namin kasi dapat hindi po nagmadali. Dahil ang petition for disqualification po ayon sa rules, pwedeng i-file yan hanggat hindi na ipoproklama yung kinekwestiyong kandidato. Kaya po sana po nag-exert pa ng due diligence, nakakuha ng COC na i-point out at nailagay dun sa allegation sa kanyang complaint o petition, yung mga deficiencies na sinasabi niya ay mas maaring maganda na ilatag po ito.
Kumbaga, spokes attorney, no, ang sinasabi is sa form pa lang insufficient na siya. So therefore, hindi na muna kailangan tignan ng substance until masatisfy ang form na kailangan na ipakita sa inyo. Tama po ba yun, attorney?
Tama po. Alam niyo po, ang COMELEC po kasi ay maraming trabaho. Isa po dito, yung pagtanggap ng COC na parte ng administrative functions namin. Ang pagtanggap po naman ng kaso ay parte ng kanilang quasi-judicial functions. Kaya po, sinasabi nga po namin, ito po ay nag-exercise ng cold impartiality of a neutral judge. Kaya hindi po magbibigay ng ebidensya ang korte doon po sa nagrereklamo. Kailangan siya po ang magbigay.
Alright, so attorney, ano yung next step ngayon ng mga petitioners? Anong pwedeng gawin nila?
Nasa sa kanila po kung sila po ay magpa-file ng kung anong mga aksyon at titignan po natin kung ano magiging susunod na hakbang nila. Basta isa po ang malinaw na punto namin, Chairman Garcia. Yung pong disqualification case na pinag-uusapan, pwede po yung ma-file hanggat hindi na ipoproklama ang isang kandidato. May mga pagkakataon pa naman po.
Do you guys still have notable disqualification cases pending po sa inyong opisina?
Hindi ko lang po masabi ngayon pero meron pong mga ilan pang mga petitions for disqualification na kumekwestiyon po sa ilang candidates natin.
Mga candidates.
Attorney, taking this opportunity na rin po, no, would like an update siguro sa mga gun ban violators na nahuli. Kasi the last time we spoke, you gave us a number. Has it increased since then?
Tama po kayo, Sir Angelo. Nasa 1,450 na halos ang mga na-apprehend po at nakakasuhan sa gun ban violation sa iba't ibang checkpoints at iba't ibang mga operations po ng ating law enforcement agencies. Yung mga baril na nakumpiska po, again, halos umabot po sa 2,000, no? Kaya nga po patuloy po ang pagpapaalala natin sa ating mga kababayan, kahit po kayo may LTO, firearm registration or permit to carry firearm outside of residence, kung wala po kayong certificate of authority o yung gun ban exemption, kayo po ay lalabag sa batas kung ilalabas po ninyo ang inyong mga baril sa labas ng inyong bahay.
Hello, attorney. I've seen naman several updates on media at COMELEC sites na bawal nga talaga magdala ng baril regardless kung meron kang license to carry. But why do you think hanggang ngayon it still persists na ang dami pa rin ang dadala ng kanilang baril? Hindi po din nila alam? Ano yung mga excuses na binibigay nila?
Alam niyo po, yung iba po kasi talagang sinasabi nga po na hindi alam, pero sa punto po kasi kung ikaw ay responsible gun owner, kasama po dapat sa alam mo na dapat nung binigyan ka ng pribilehiyo na mayroong mga batas na umiiral. Bukod pa doon sa general conditions ng pag-aari at pagdadala ng armas, alam mo rin na tuwing magkakaroon po ng election period, ay iiral ang ating gun ban. And in fact, hindi po ito unang pagkakataon. Napakarami pong beses, pati nga po sa ating Quiapo Fiesta. Doon sa ilang mga celebrations, pinapairal ang gun ban. Kaya po sana po, yun lang po talagang iba na medyo matitigas ng ulo, wag po natin ipilit.
Okay. Mga update na lang din po, attorney, dun sa mga iba pang mga election-related crimes na nakukumit po ngayon?
Opo, batay po sa huling datos ng ating Philippine National Police, meron pong 8 na po ang confirmed na election-related incident as of today. Meron pong 6 pang iniimbestigahan kung ito po ay may kinalaman sa halalan. Meron pong 9 na marahas na kaganapan pero napatunayan na po na hindi naman po election-related. Maaari pong na-involve ang kandidato pero malino po investigation ng PNP. Ito po ay personal o ibang dahilan at walang kinalaman sa halalan. So as it stands now, 8 po ang ating confirmed election-related incident.
Yes, and attorney, kamusta na po yung mga hotspots natin? Kalmado pa ba ang mga sitwasyon doon?
Opo, nananatili pong 38 ang nasa red category areas kung saang 32 po dito ay nasa Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Inaasahan po namin ang pag-update po ng iba't ibang mga regions through the Regional Joint Security Control Center. Ang inaasahan po natin, baka po mapababa yung bilang na ito. Pero isa lang din po ang punto namin. Kahit po merong mga red category areas, kahit po may 8 election-related incidents, wala pa naman po lugar sa bansa ang kinakailangan isa-ilalim sa COMELEC control. Wala pa po yung ilan.
Also po yung update na lang din po dun sa inyong investigation regarding dun po sa mga insidente ng vote buying, particularly dun po sa Baguio. And if I'm not mistaken, meron din pong isa pa yung nagkaroon po sila ng parang namigay ng kotse. Your update on that po?
5 po ang iniimbestigahan po na potential na maging kaso po ng vote buying. Ito po yung nag-iimbestigate dito ang Committee on Contrabigay. Patuloy po ang kanilang fact-finding investigation dito at titignan po natin, mauwi ba sa pagsasampa ng kaso for vote buying or vote selling ang mga bagay na ito.
Alright, on that note, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, COMELEC spokesperson, Attorney Rex Laudianco. Thanks for joining us today.
All right, the Transportation Department orders sweeping review of policies on apprehending traffic violators. This comes after LTO personnel apparently harassed a motorcycle rider in Panglao, Bohol last week. On him was a sickle which the rider said was just a tool, him being a farmer. But the enforcers did not believe him and even threatened Velasco with it and dragged him on the ground. Secretary Vince Dizon told the big story that there could be too much discretion given to traffic enforcers. He added that rules are now being revisited under the leadership of Assistant Secretary Jojo Reyes.
Our role as government workers is really encapsulated by what the President said sometime in January, where he says that, we are the people's servants and not their lords. Tayo yung mga nandyan para tumulong sa ating mga kababayan, hindi para maghari-harian at abusuhin sila. And I think the incident in Panglao, even if there was something illegal going on, even if the farmer Mang Bert was drunk, nakainom, o nakasakay sa isang unregistered motorcycle, o kolorum, whatever.
Sumobra.
I don't think any of that justifies the behavior that we have all witnessed. Especially from people who are given power and authority, like an LTO law enforcer.
Alam mo kasi meron naman rules about yung how many inches of in a blade na pwede mo dalhin legally, 'di ba? Kasi may certain pag lumampas sa certain number, I don't remember if it's 2 or 3 inches, illegal weapon na 'yon. Pero sa discretion ng Philippine National Police 'yon, mga police pag inapprehend ka, hindi ka naman kakalad ka rin, ita-threaten na isasaksak sa'yo. Usually mangyayari diyan, i-detain ka lang naman, dadalhin ka sa presinto, titignan kung bawal nga yung dinala mo, hihingi ng salaysay mo, and may explanation. Pero ito ginawa nila.
They drag the
farmer, and then yung umamba pa yung isang traffic enforcer. Ang mandate at mission order ng isang traffic enforcer is to apprehend traffic violators by giving a ticket. Kung may nakitang kutsilyo or sickle ipakita nyo sa pulis. Kasi sila na mag-decide. Pero yung kakalad ka rin mo, tapos aambahan mo ng kutsilyo habang,
pinagtulungan nila.
habang naka-headlock. Di ba? Medyo,
parang hindi naman tama.
medyo, ano ba ang ano
Kailangan
nyo?
ata nila ng retraining, no? Nung yung mga traffic enforcers, kung paano ba yung mga standard operating procedure pag ganyan ng mga insidente.
At saka
And
kung
ano nangyari dito sa mga 5 na to, di
Tsaka,
ba?
alam ko pinatawag na sila na, pinagalitan na. Oo.
Yun lang.
I don't know. I officially may nangyari naman mga certain punishment, pero I have to read it. Hindi ko maalala kung ano yun eh.
Alright, in other news, various religious groups and sectoral representatives launched the People's Impeachment Movement on Tuesday. The campaign aims to gather 1 million signatures per month to urge the Senate to expedite impeachment proceedings against Vice President Sara Duterte. The group, composed of priests, nuns, pastors, and lay people, call for accountability over Duterte's alleged misuse of public funds. They also seek to prevent another Duterte from rising to power.
Yeah, quickly lang. I think this stemmed from yung disgust nila sa statement ni Senate President Escudero saying that si VP Sara wala mang clamor, and yet
walang clamor for the impeachment.
Si Jesus Christ may clamor daw para ipako sa krus at that time. Wala daw. Parang how could you compare the two situations ang sinasabi ng marami.
So ito, by doing this, hopefully sends a message daw, diba, according to them, na may clamor doon sa usapin ng paggamit ng public funds. So 1 million
a month. 1 million a month yan ang target nila.
Signature.
Oo. So hopefully in 3 months daw, may 3 million sila. Pero by that time, patapos na eleksyon. Diba? So let's see kung ano yung makakalap nila. In the meantime, don't go away. We're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Pope Francis continues treatment for double pneumonia more than 2 weeks after his hospitalization. Gretchen Ho has the report.
It is the start of the Lenten season, but Ash Wednesday services here at the Vatican will miss Pope Francis as he continues to fight through double pneumonia. In the latest medical bulletin released Tuesday night, the Vatican announced that the Pope's condition remains stable following 2 episodes of acute respiratory failure on Monday. He was described as alert, cooperative, and oriented. No further episodes of respiratory failure or bronchospasm have been recorded. He has also transitioned to high-flow oxygen therapy and will continue on non-invasive mechanical ventilation until later today. While this marks an improvement in his condition, it is worth noting that the bulletin did not mention the Pope being up and about as he had been in recent days. The prognosis remains guarded. We gained more insight into the Pope's condition from the Philippine ambassador to the Holy See.
Kita naman, probably from around the Christmas season, kasi hectic yan for the Vatican. He had difficulty breathing talaga. And hindi niya natatapos yung homily or yung mga catechesis niya. But for a man his age, he keeps a very punishing schedule na I guess he starts at 8 o'clock. And then sunod-sunod yan yung mga appointments niya. Even sa nababasa ko sa schedule niya, I get tired from just reading yung anong mga activities that he is supposed to do during the day. And he travels. But nakita ko rin from engagements and encounters dun sa Vatican that he gets a boost when he meets people, especially the youth. If may occasions during papal masses na may maraming mga kabataan and they keep shouting his name, mas lalong humahaba yung kanyang ikot.
Makahilig says the unprecedented daily health updates being released by the Vatican are a response to the call of the public.
It's one for transparency. And yun nga, yung concern niya na people do not get too concerned as well sa kanya. Di ba parang it's a way to ease yung concern ng mga tao sa kanya. So I can imagine na he would want people to know his situation so that they are given some measure of reassurance as well.
It is no surprise, though, as Pope Francis has made significant changes during his time as Pope.
He leads from the ranks. Hindi siya yung somebody who's way up there na detached and parang difficult to get to. His accessibility is something that endears him and makes for a good leader kasi nakikita ng tao na he is one of them.
As to whether his health deteriorated due to a widening gap in the Vatican's finances and a reported clash with cardinals due to Pope Francis' creation of a high-level task force to do a Vatican-wide auditing,
I think a lot of the was really to do a system change. Hindi lang naman siya nag-target ng individuals. It wasn't really a witch hunt na targeting a particular person, but ang administrative changes that he has pushed was really to make the Vatican city-state and the church itself function better and do its work more efficiently and get the benefits to the intended recipients talaga.
And with the Pope's roller coaster of a ride in the hospital, the Filipino faithful continue to express its solidarity even from within the Vatican.
Praying is something that has always been a strong suit for any believer. So we continue to pray that he pulls through with this one. And we also pray for the church itself, just like any other entity that could be facing transition, that it will stand firm and continue on.
The Lenten season begins on Ash Wednesday today.
Let's head over to the Quiapo Church to check the situation there. We have mobile journalist Merimon Reyes is now live on the ground. Good morning, Merimon. Ilan na ba yung inaasahan nating pupunta dyan sa Quiapo Church para sa misa na ngayong Ash Wednesday?
Magandang umaga, Angelo and Angela. Ngayong araw na to, since tuloy-tuloy yung mga misa for Ash Wednesday na hudyat ng pagsisimula ng panahon ng Kwaresma o Lenten season, inaasahan na aabot sa 1,000 yung total ng lahat ng mga kapatid nating mananampalataya na pupunta dito ngayon sa Quiapo Church. At isa sa pamamaraan nila para makontrol nila yung dami ng tao pagdating doon sa pagpahid ng abo sa kanilang mga noo, may designated area sa loob at labas ng simbahan na tuwing after ng homily, yung nasa harapan na malapit mismo doon sa priest presider, yung pinaka makakalapit. Pero para doon sa nasa paligid o nasa labas, merong designated space tulad dito sa likuran ko. Yaang tent na yan, mamaya lamang pagkatapos nitong 11 a.m. Mass, dito ngayon papwesto yung ilan na mga church ministry natin para doon sa papahiran pa ng kanilang abo. Pero last Mass nila is ngayong 12 noon. Ang sunod ng misa para ngayong Ash Wednesday around mamayang 5 o'clock p.m., 5 to 6 at 6 to 7 p.m.
Yes, Merimon, any other activities na pwedeng asahan ng mga deboto dyan?
Sa ngayon, nakikita din natin dito yung presensya ng mga Hijos del Nazareno at active daw sila na susuportahan lahat ng mga aktibidad na may kinalaman pagdating doon sa observation ng Lenten season. Kasama na dito yung pagpapamamahagi nila na kung paano nga ba daw gagawin ang abstinence, ang fasting, kasi magkaiba ito. Yeah. Ang fasting, ginagawa ito ng 18 to 59 years old at ang fasting ang ginagawa dito ay 1 full meal at 2 small meals per day. Pero ginagawa lang ito tuwing Ash Wednesday at Good Friday. Samantala, ang abstinence naman, pag nilinaw din nila, ito yung pag-iwas sa pagkain ng kahit na anong karne na ginagawa tuwing Friday ngayong Lenten season. Pero ginagawa naman ito ages 14 years old and above. Pero paalala ng simbahan, pagdating sa fasting at abstinence, yung mga kapatid daw natin na may comorbidities, may sakit, o hindi kakayanin yung pagdating sa pagbawas ng mga kinakain, hindi naman daw sila required na i-observe yung practice na ito.
Yes, Merimon, alinawin ko, you said for Ash Wednesday, kasi pasensya na, medyo nakakalimutan ko kasi yung natuturo sa akin sa catechism. So Ash Wednesday, ang banggit nila is fasting and abstinence for 18 to 59 years old, meaning 1 full meal, 2 small meals. Ayun, how about yung red meat? Siyempre, yung mga kumakain ng steak at burger.
Pagdating kasi dito sa fasting, ang sinasabi is yung pagbawas mismo doon sa luxury eating. Pero yung pagbawas, yung pag-iwas naman sa pagkain ng karne, pork, beef, In old times kasi, luxurious na bagay ito. So, sinasabi, bawasan ito para nga doon sa acts of penance and yung pagbabalik loob. Pero under naman yun doon sa abstinence. And yung abstinence, ginagawa ito tuwing Friday at saka ang fasting naman tuwing Ash Wednesday at saka ang Good Friday ngayong Lenten season.
Interesting yung sinabi mo kasi in olden times, beef, pork, and chicken were food for the rich. So in other words, luxurious. Kung para sa akin, hindi man ako meat eater and I prefer eating ice cream, baka yun ang yun ang pinaka isa-sacrifice ko. Parang gano'n ang sinasabi ng simbahan, di ba?
Yes, Angelo, lalong-lalo na para sa iba na mahilig daw na kumain, lumamon, or even iba pang activities. Mahilig na gumala o yung paggastos sobra-sobra. Maganda raw ngayon sa panahon na ito for spiritual discipline at yung acts of penance nga ay bawasan daw ang mga ito para raw makikita dito yung kahalagahan ng buhay at sakripisyo rin na dinanas mismo ni Jesus.
Yes, lastly, Marymon, syempre mamaya after mga 5:30 and the 5 o'clock mass, I'm sure dadagsain ng tao yan. Are there traffic protocols in place? Where can they park? Open pa ba yung parking areas around the church?
So far dito sa may boulevard sa gilid ng simbahan, normal pa naman ang sitwasyon ng daloy ng trapiko. May mga sasakyan din namang nakaparada pa at wala pa tayo nakikitang road closure sa paligid ng simbahan ng Quiapo. Pero isa sa mga naobserbahan natin, marami rin ang mga naglilibot dito na patrol groups kasama na rin ang K9 units para masiguro raw nila na mananatiling matiwasay at mapayapang observation ng Ash Wednesday sa paligid ng Quiapo.
Alright, thank you for that, mobile journalist Marymon Reyes.
Now in sports, Alas Pilipinas standouts Brian Baguñas and Ea Laure have been named ambassadors for the Philippines hosting of the 2025 FIVB Men's Volleyball World Championship. Baguñas and Laure will lead promotional efforts both locally and internationally, including an international roadshow, mascot contest, trophy tour, and a special 100-day countdown in June. Meanwhile, in the folk pop band, Ben and Ben will serve as the tournament's official music partner. This marks the Philippines' second appearance in the tournament since 1974. The tournament is set for September 12 to 28.
UAAP volleyball action continues today with 4 exciting matches at the Mall of Asia Arena. Kicking off the day at 10 a.m., the UE Red Warriors will try to secure their first win as they face the undefeated FEU Tamaraos in men's play. This will be followed at 12 noon by a showdown between the UP Fighting Maroons and the UST Golden Spikers. In the women's division, the UE Lady Warriors will also look for their breakthrough victory when they take on the FEU Lady Tamaraos at 2 p.m. Then at 4 p.m., the UP Fighting Maroons will aim to bounce back as they go up against the UST Golden Tigresses. Oy, happy and have a solemn Ash
Blessed
Wednesday,
Ash Wednesday today.
And the mga for Catholics, don't forget, diba, maya-maya, I get your,
Do you know where they get the ash?
Yes, from the burnt palm from the previous
previous one, yung palaspas.
Yan, palaspas. Tapos, di ba, may nagsasabi na ano daw gagawin sa ito yung mga impeachment group, di ba, may ash daw sila.
What?
Anyway, nahilo na ako. Pero, just the same, it's Wednesday. Thank you for joining us kahit despite of it being a religious holiday. And of course, we will continue to provide more information tomorrow and until Friday. In the meantime, we'd like to leave you with a quote that hopefully would make your day a little more better. To succeed in life, you need 3 things: a wishbone, a backbone, and a funny bone. A quote from Reba McEntire. All right, and that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.